Welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast, your source for information on hunting, fishing, and all of your outdoor passions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. My name is Mike Anderson, and if you are into competition barbecue at all, you probably have some familiar faces in front of us. If you don't, you're definitely in for a treat today. So with me, I have Heath Riles and Chad Ward. Thank you for meeting us here today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us to be on.
It's great to have you. So can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from?
Well, my name is Heath Riles, and my competition barbecue team is Heath Riles Barbecue. It's mostly made up of just me and my wife. We have a few friends at some of the bigger contests that go with us. We started out as just a backyard, not really backyard team. I can't say that. We kind of jumped right in the fire as competition barbecue. We honed our skills, and we was on many different teams through the years and started many teams, and finally decided it was time to, I took the advice of Sweet Baby Ray and Famous Dave to change to my name. And I did, and I had a line of products, and I got behind those products, and it's kind of took off nationally, and stores like SCHEELS have got behind me, and it's made my dreams come true. It's allowed me to leave the corporate world and be my own boss, and my wife to leave the corporate world, and we just hired our first employee and looking for another one, and it's just been a heck of a ride. And I've won 74 grand championships and about, I don't know, between $300,000 and $400,000 in prize money, and I just feel really blessed and really lucky.
You know? That's great.
And
just doing what you love, right?
The other thing, if you don't know about Heath, there used to be a Bank of America commercial with a guy that was a pitmaster. And that was your boy Heath Riles.
Yeah, I went to Hollywood one time. I mean, that was...
Was that your first taste of fame?
Yes, it was kind of crazy. I, worked a normal job. I was in the beer industry, and I was actually over on premise, and I run all the bars and restaurants, had delivery guys and all that. And so going from that and quitting that and then getting the commercial after I got into competition barbecue, it did propel me and allow me to really fund my dreams. If I wouldn't have made that money, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, thanks to that and American Express.
Oh, that's right. It was American Express.
It was a Bank of America commercial, but funding my business, I honestly didn't go borrow any money. I swiped a good old credit card, and I said, I'm going to try this or not. And $30,000 is not a lot of money to chase your dream. It is, but you know what? We're gonna make it or break it, or we're going to fake it till we make it. We actually, I guess you could say we're there.
I'm thinking you hit the made it status.
I don't know about that, but I consider us blessed and lucky, and it allows me to work with great people like Traeger with Chad, and he's got a brand, and even though he works for Traeger, and we go and he invites me to do things sometimes, and cook for great partners, in the business, and it's just a fun time. It's not like putting on a pair of slacks and going to work every day at a normal job.
Yeah, it's just a fun time to be in the barbecue world in general. So, Chad, how about you?
So, Chad Ward. I'm the owner of Whiskey Bent Barbecues. We have a store in Lakeland. We have a line of rubs. Also the director of marketing, barbecue marketing. I think it's a great title, director of barbecue marketing at Traeger. And I've been with the brand. The brand got purchased about 7.5 years ago. I came on about 6 months into that, and they said, well, we own a grill company. We probably need a barbecue guy.
It seems logical.
Yeah, and so I got a chance to work with the company, and at that point I was an executive in the software business. So I did a lot of turnaround and startup software companies, did about 4 of them, and I was kind of just at my wit's end with that, and I'd been taking all my vacation time from software to go work for Traeger, doing events, things like this. And opportunity just came up. They said, hey, we want a guy to lead our barbecue marketing effort and be kind of the face of the brand. And I just had my 5-year anniversary as an employee. It'll be tomorrow, actually. So it's just been amazing. I mean, you look at the brand and what we've done and where it's gone, it's amazing. We just announced we're going to go public with an IPO here at the end of the month, and just to be part of it's just so cool. So, getting to work with SCHEELS and some of our big retail partners, it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I do have a question for you. The people that are watching the video will get this. The audio, you just kind of have to picture it. But like when you came into your first interview with them, were you wearing a pair of shorts like that?
So I actually was wearing a long pair of these. So if you go to loudmouthgolf.com, you can check them out. It's a pair of flamingo pants. So I wore a black button-up shirt and a pair of hot pink flamingo pants. And they thought, okay, this is our guy.
Yeah, this is the kind of guy we can get behind.
Exactly.
Get everyone excited about Traeger.
My dad always told me, as a kid, just be memorable. Always leave something, let people walk away with a memory.
Hey, you make your mark, buddy.
Well, thank you.
That is a heck of a inspirational thing from your father.
Yeah.
Be memorable, and that is that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something too with a lot of us barbecue guys. I mean, it's our DNA, right? There's a reason we do this for a living. We love sharing our food. We love, I mean, we were putting brisket slices out today. That just ain't a piece of meat. That's us. You know what I mean? We're just sharing who we are.
Yeah, you got your heart and soul in that.
Absolutely. Man. Yeah, I mean that's kind of our name. That's what people are going to walk away with. Is that a good bite of food or not?
And with Chad, I'm sure he's going to say the same thing. It's something about it, looking in a person's eyes when they eat something that you cooked. That smile that comes from it, and that nod. It's just like, okay.
That's all the gratification you need.
I'm a big dude. I don't play sports anymore. That's my win. I mean, to me, and winning contests is all fine, but it comes to, I guess I've crossed that golden bridge in my life, and yeah, I'm still going to cook some of the big contests. I'd like, to win Memphis in May or the Royal or something, the Jack, but I'm not all about contests anymore. It's about passing on the knowledge that I've learned over the years to all these guys that are not interested in competition barbecue, but finding their way in their backyard to cook for their family and friends, because creating memories and laughter is what it's all about. You don't hear too many fights and mass shootings at a family barbecue, do you?
No, you sure
barbecue.
don't.
It's all about having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, just
your
food.
friends, your family, food.
Yeah, food and barbecue. It's really all about bringing people together.
Right, bringing people together.
So I am curious about how you guys got into the competition game. Like, what drove you to get started?
Well, for me, I was 18, graduating high school, and one of my best friends in school, his uncle had a KCBS barbecue team. And he was just a local guy. He cooked 5 or 6 events a year, had an old stick burner, and we went with him, had a good time. He was going out of town, so he decided to let us use his cooker and his recipes to cook at the contest, our local contest. We were 18-year-old kids, so what did we do? We threw a party. All our friends come.
I don't see why not.
I mean, my dad was a cop, and so we didn't get in any trouble. We just had a good old-fashioned time, right? And Don come back in town, and he said, boys, if y'all going to be like that, y'all need to build your own grill and start your own team like I did. He said, it looks like it's something you're enjoying. And so me being the cocky 18-year-old kid that I was at the time goes, I'm going to build my own grill. I got this. And so I went to some barbecue contests and looked at other grills, found a steel pipe manufacturer, bought a piece of scrap pipe, and built my own cooker. And I could never get the firebox right, and a lot of people don't know this story. I couldn't get the airflow right, so I contacted a buddy of mine that worked for a metal fab company, and he helped me with the firebox and got it right.
People don't understand, getting that draw right when you build a pit's hard.
Well, I cooked on that grill for 8 or 9 years before I bought my first competition cooker, and I sold that grill for $1,200.
Nice.
And I would give $12,000 to have it back today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know where it's at anymore. But I would love the one that I bought a welder, I bought a torch, I burnt the welding rods, I built it. I mean, I remember going to the hardware store and buying dowel to cut in and make the handles to raise the lid. I'd really like to have that back, but that's how I got started in competition barbecue.
Okay.
Just kind of barrel roll from there, just cooking locally, and I got a divorce and moved to the bigger city about 45 minutes up the road and started a new team, and it just kind of barrel rolled from there, and it's turned into a backyard thing to a multi-million-dollar dream.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. And if the person that has your grill is listening to this podcast, you can get a really positive return on investment.
You can get a good ROI. I would love to have
real good ROI.
Really good ROI.
And he's already set the price, guys, $12,000.
I probably would give. I'm serious. I would pay good money. I might not would give $12,000 depending on the shape it was in, but I'm telling you, I would give good money to have that grill.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? For me, it was I grew up grilling, I was, loved my dad to death, but he was a typical propane gas cooker, chicken be burnt on the outside and raw on the inside. And, grilling night turned into pizza night every once in a while. And so I just liked cooking, and went to college. My junior and senior year, I lived with a couple of buddies. We had a house, and my dad had this old Sunbeam. Y'all remember the old Sunbeam gas grills?
I do.
Well, all the gas components have been burnt out of it, so I got a piece of flange and some JB Weld, covered up where the gas components came in, drilled a couple holes in it, turned into a charcoal grill, and kind of said, I learned off everything. It was about 10 minutes from going out of date, because, you're in college, you're broke as a joke. And so I just go down to the meat department and get whatever's, 70, 80% off, and cooked every weekend for my buddies. And then life happens, you graduate college and got in the software business. And I started out as a software consultant. So, you fly out on Sunday night, fly home Friday night. You're only home really Saturday. So all you want to do is wash your clothes, lay on the couch, and get repacked and go back. And after about 6 months of that, my buddy Jared that I lived with was also a software consultant with me at the same company. We got done with the project early, so we're sitting at the house I don't think we had to go back on the road till Tuesday. So we're sitting at my house listening to Country Gold Saturday night, and I said, we got to find a way to get the old gang back together, and cook. I don't want to do it every weekend, and Jared said, well, what about these barbecue competitions? And I'm from Lakeland, Florida, and we've got a contest. It'll be its 25th anniversary this year, called Lakeland Pig Festival. Big Casey Best contest. Heath can vouch for it. It's a solid contest. Dude. And he's like, well, what about those, man? And so we get to looking and find this Florida Barbecue Association. They got a bunch of contests, within 2 hours of us. And I was like, well, let's do it. All right, we're getting to competition barbecue. And Jared's grandfather just passed and had this huge, probably 8 foot in diameter stick burner. It was a big stand-up. So it was high and wide.
A cabinet style.
But it was a cylinder. And I still have that one, which is kind of cool. And I said, all right, man. And you don't think about competition barbecue being a one bite barbecue, as we call it, so you don't have to have this big pit, but boy, we had this big pit, and we showed up, and I said, well, I don't want to make our debut at the hometown contest. I'd like to get a couple reps in.
Yeah,
and
get your feet wet somewhere
August of 2007, we went over to Kissimmee, right around the Mouse House, as I say, Disney World. And we entered the amateur division. And there was 9 teams. We finished 7th and lost to a troop of Boy Scouts. So I always say Whiskey Bent had humble beginnings. But there was something about that day out there with those people and how helpful everybody was. They knew it was our first contest. It was almost just after one, I could say, man, this could end up being my second family. Like, these are good people. It reminded me a lot of, I played sports through college, and it reminded me just the camaraderie of sports. And do we compete against each other? Absolutely. We just did today. But we're each other's biggest fans. And the fact that we've both been able to make a livelihood out of this, and build $1 million brands, it's unreal. Mm-hmm. It's like we do get to put in long days. When this trip's done, I'll be on the road 21, 22 days. In the last 3 months, I've been home 14 days. But man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. We get to live our dream, and it all started with competition barbecue, big boys in a parking lot. In whatever city, with cookers and just they're guys that, if I forget something at home, I can go to Heath and say, man, I need some of that butter bath, or I need this, or I need that. And you don't ever want to beat somebody because they didn't have something. You want to beat them because just on that day, that set of judges thought you had better food. You know what I mean? Right. And we all, that's the thing that's funny too is, not only do we not really compete against each other in competition barbecue, but our brands. You go in SCHEELS, beautiful barbecue section. There's my stuff, there's Heath's stuff, our buddy Malcolm, his stuff, Killer Hogs, all these guys that we cooked in these same parking lots with 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now look at it. It's amazing. It's one of those things, if you got a dream, like Heath said, and it's funny, you said $30,000 on a credit card. I opened my first store, 750 square feet for $30,000. That was the lease, the product, the whole 9 yards. But I kind of one of those field of dreams, man. If you build it, they'll come.
That's where I was at. I figured I could take $30,000, and if I had to pay back $500 a month, I knew that I could do that without making any money. I knew I sacrificed everything. I sold my personal truck, was out of company vehicle, for a little over a year My wife can vouch for this. We went everywhere in her car and everywhere in a company vehicle, my company van. I had a beer van. And I can remember going to the casino, going to the fights, and valet parking a beer van. But I didn't drive an ordinary beer van. Mine had a set of 20s on it, and it had, when you open up the back doors, it had kegs that had been cut out with speakers mounted in them. And it was like a show van.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so I could pull
awesome.
up and rock out somewhere, man. Everybody loved me.
You're pretty much welcome at any place.
Well, we done all the parades, and we done all the festivals, and we done, and so we always had a good time. Always. At one time, I tell people, when I actually met my wife, my job in the beverage industry was taking models out at night and buying drinks. All I did was pay the tab. They bought people's drinks and sampled whatever we were sampling then. And I just hung out and, drank some beers and paid for everything. So it was a great way to learn. And when I met my wife, I went to my boss and I said, look, that life ain't for me. I got a girlfriend and she's a fiance now, and I need to be in sales or something. I need to come off this promotional road. And so I did that, and I done really well in sales and got promoted and moved up really fast. And it was just something about going and talking to people and just chilling. Even when I was in the beer business, I was competing barbecue part-time, but everybody knew me as the barbecue guy. Mm-hmm. What'd you win this weekend? Where'd you go? What are y'all doing? Because I was always trying to leave early on Friday, and to get to a barbecue contest. And so, like Chad said, everybody's always just been so supportive, and I don't know, it's been amazing. I get lost for words trying to talk about it because I can't. I never thought I would be able to care for a brand like I do, or just embrace it, and it's different. It's fun. That's
an amazing story. Absolutely love it. So, Chad, you hinted a little bit about competition today, and that kind of that'll bring us to why I have you guys at the table here at our studio here in Fargo. So, can you guys tell me a little bit what's going on while you're here?
Yeah, so we were, it was interesting. A couple of months ago, Traeger reaches out, and our guys that handle the SCHEELS account, Glenn and Sloan, they're like, hey, SCHEELS is putting together this barbecue competition as part of their training. So, man, that's quite an undertaking, Oh, yeah, we're going to do briskets and this and that. Can you get me a couple of pitmasters from Traeger? And so I said, well, I'll definitely be there. And reached out to Heath, and we reached out to Malcolm, but he's on family vacation, so it's going to be the three of us. And then Malcolm had that vacation, and so we said, well, got our buddy Jeff Vanderlinde, who's over outside of Minneapolis. He's a world champion, and shaking and grinning. And the three of us came out and had the whole Traeger team here, and then you guys had the other brands, Masterbuilt and Kamado Joe and those guys, and it was awesome. But I got to say, a couple of things that I'll leave this with. First, please do it again next year. It was an absolute blast. I used to work for a company before I was in software, Public Supermarkets down in Florida, and up the East Coast now, but when I started, just a Florida company. And they were employee owned. And the one thing about Publix, it's always a well-lit, well-merchandised, great employees. And when I walked into my first SCHEELS yesterday for the first time, it was like I felt like I was back home at Publix. Everybody just bend over backwards, hospitable, store nice, bright, clean. And I was impressed with it just looking at it. And then as I'm coming down the escalator, I'm like, whoa, hold on. You can get fitted for golf clubs here too? That's a simulator.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and then I get to talking to some of y'all's employees. It's not like, well, that Fargo store is great, and we're actually, kind of doing a little update in there. But like Jeff from Minneapolis was, man, you got to go to the Eden Prairie store.
I was just going to say that they have a hockey rink in there.
I know,
really.
And then
nobody's told me that.
Yeah. So the cool thing about what you guys did was it wasn't just us coming out and cooking. We've got, every team got 5 SCHEELS employees that were there for training. And one of my guys on my team is from the Colony, the Dallas store. And he said, oh, well, everybody talking about Eden Prairie. Like, you should see the Colony. That store is unreal. And
there's definitely some competition between stores for sure. It's all in good fun.
But the pride they had in each one of their stores and why it's different and this and that, like that's something that's so hard to see, especially right now at this snapshot of the world where you're having a hard time getting employees. A lot of businesses struggle with that. Obviously, you guys don't. And I had a guy that had been with SCHEELS 7 months, all the way up to one guy on my team. He had been there 14 years. and they all just talk about how well the brand takes care of them, and you can see it, man. You guys got a great thing going on, and I was so happy to hear about how you guys want to expand and grow your market. And I'll tell you what, come on down to Central Florida. Well, we'd love to have y'all.
Well, hey, you never know what's going to happen next. We've got a store coming up in Chandler, Arizona.
Oh, nice.
We announced, so we are getting a few stores south now. It's been mostly a Midwestern thing to start, but we are definitely expanding, and who knows?
I would love to have y'all in Tennessee and North Mississippi too. I mean, Georgia. I mean, y'all could mop up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
ain't nothing like it.
Y'all stores are. I really didn't know Shields was as the kind of store it was. I honestly thought it was a smaller outdoor sporting goods store. And when I walked in yesterday, and they said that's not even the big store. I mean, 2 levels. I'm blown away, and I'm a huge
Ferris wheel.
I'm a huge hunting guy too, and the Ferris wheel. But going upstairs to the hunting department, and we checked out the barbecue department. I see barbecue departments everywhere. Y'all's are top notch.
Well, I appreciate
When
that.
I walked over to the gun department though, and I see that y'all buy used gun collections and the type of guns that you had in there, my wife was like,
Get out of here.
You need to go. And I went in the room, the good room, and man, I was amazed at the prices. I'm going to be honest. I follow a lot of antique firearms, and I might own several. And, maybe, allegedly, and not in my name. And I was amazed at what all y'all had. I mean, really amazed. And then to see the bow area y'all had, and you could shoot over there in the bowling alley, and I was just amazed. I mean, really, y'all's store is above and beyond any kind of sporting goods store I've ever been in.
Yeah, we really try to make it a full experience, offer a little something for everybody. And, we mostly value our experts, that's why we're making these universities get hands-on training with professional people to not only build product knowledge, but to just build excitement.
Well, how many stores have you been in before that don't invest the money into their company and their employee training, that you ask for something? And there's a lot of big box retailers out there we know there's printing money by the second, that don't put any money into training, and you walk into a store and none of them can tell you anything about a single product, most of them can't even tell you where something's at in the store. And so I really respect the fact that Shields takes the time to really
and the money. It's a big investment.
It is a huge investment to put the money, like you said, not only money but the time and effort into training employees, and employees want to work for the company. And like Chad said, right now where we're at, everybody's having short staffed and trying to find labor, and for y'all to be, where you're at, everybody, you want to go to work at Shields. It means something. That means you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh. You know what? We greatly appreciate that, and you're really buttering us up right now.
No. I mean, I'm just telling you the
truth.
truth.
We're here to talk about barbecue.
Yeah, but I think the other thing too is, both me and Heath, our brands are in all y'all stores that have a barbecue section, and so a lot of times it's just a purchase order that comes through, and we fulfill it and we send the product out, but to be able to come into the retailer, experience the store, experience the employees, it's just going to make our relationships with our brands and with Traeger, it's just going to make it tighter. So, I mean, it's just great to get out here and get 36 hours kind of just immersed in y'all's brand and do what we can to make sure your employees
I want to know what else I can do to make you better.
Yeah.
And
you can just keep doing you.
Well, I'm going to keep doing me, and as I like to say, and sometimes my wife don't like me saying what I'm about to say, I'm just living. LIVIN. That's it.
There you go. That's
my motto. You can put it on my tombstone if I kick over tomorrow. He was just living. LIVIN. And I mean that 100%.
Enjoying every moment of it.
Can we throw an apostrophe on the end of it?
Do what?
LIVIN apostrophe. Can we throw it on there?
I mean,
right.
I don't see why not. So I am curious though, so if it's your first experience into Shields, you walk in there, what's it like to see the store and then to see your product on the shelf?
Oh man,
to know you're a part of it.
It was super cool. Go in and you got to the barbecue section there, and honestly, I said, well, I'm not going to ship any rubs. I'll just buy them. I just buy them from the Shields, you know what I mean? And I'll use those for the contest. And to go in there, and I think we were about third shelf down and right in the middle, and it was just cool. I mean, I always, every time I go in a store that's got our product, I go in and do my retail thing and front everything and make sure it looks good. But no, it was super cool when you think back, and I'm sure Heath has these same experiences every time we walk in a retailer where our product's at. Like, man, we're just a couple of guys that, cooked in a parking lot and kind of figured it out, and had a little bit of personality, and people just kind of gravitated to us and appreciate what we do. And it's humbling, man.
Real humbling.
It's walking into the first store and seeing your product on the shelf, or walking into it and seeing it at the 100th time. It still always feels the same way. It's just so gratifying and just so happy that we can take what we've done and share it with others. You know what I mean? So you can take a little bit of Chad or a little bit of Heath and serve it to your friends, your family, in your backyard, in your kitchen, and to be able to do that's pretty dang cool.
Yep.
I have to agree with Chad. It's the first time I ever walked in a Kroger grocery store locally to me that we shop in, and I see our product. It's and your buddy walks by and goes, "Oh man, you're selling that in here now?" Yeah, we are. and just and around home we have people that are so loyal to us because they're people we grew up with, people we went to school with. Me and my wife and family members and close friends, and they text me, "Man, they're out of your pecan rub over here at, the South Haven store." And, it's always people are trying to buy it and they're calling me. And it's just a feeling that, I don't know, it's unless you've experienced it, I can't explain it. It's, I guess, a feeling of self-pride and self-worth.
Just an incredible sense of pride, I imagine.
That you can actually, you always probably dreamed as a kid like I did of doing different things, and I never knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, and now after being one, I don't know why I wasted my time in the corporate world.
You know what though? To hit on that though, I think the corporate world, we learned things there.
We do.
That made us better entrepreneurs.
It made me a heck of a salesman.
Yeah, well, I was about to say customer service and just connecting with people. I know that did a lot for me. So it's one of those that, if we could have done this at 25, it would have been fun, but you needed those.
But maybe you wouldn't have succeeded then, because maybe you don't have your
exactly
knowledge
right.
from past experiences.
And there's also the fact that some corporations are not valuing their employees like they should be.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate, Shields, they value their employees. I've worked for some companies that does not value their employees. You're just another person on the wall. And I've worked for corporations that would call you Friday evening at 6 o'clock, and you would think you were finna get, just yelled at about something and go, "I really want to tell you I appreciate all the hard work you've done behind the scenes to make things happen this week." And I respect people like that. And so anytime you can tell, that relates to me. When my boss tells me that, I know what it felt like. And so now I try to purvey that as being a business owner to anytime to a retailer, or even anytime I'm out at a restaurant and a server's really good and they're doing what they're supposed to do, man, I'm going to tell them they're doing a good job. I want them to know, because they don't get told good enough. I appreciate it.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's one of the cool things at Traeger, because I guess you could say I still work a corporate job, but
it's not like it.
It's not.
Yeah. Air quotes, corporate job.
I mean, you've been around the Traeger brand, and
Traeger office is awesome, and it reminds me a lot. I went to Yeti's office before. We work with Yeti also, and you do too, right?
Yep.
And so,
do we. The trifecta.
Yeah, trifecta. Yep. And Yeti is a great partner too for us, and they honestly, their work atmosphere is just so awesome. And so the first time I went to Traeger headquarters in Utah, I told my wife, I said, it's the same way here. The atmosphere is not like you're just another guy. The owner actually knows your name, and they care about you, and they purvey that in their brand, their image. They don't tell you to trim your goatee. They don't tell you to
wear
be clean shaven.
Hey, quit wearing them shorts, boy. Wear some khakis.
Believe me, anybody.
No one should tell you to quit wearing them.
Anybody that can get away with wearing what Chad wears, those shorts, that's pretty cool to work for.
And another thing to kind of piggyback on what you said, Heath, that thank you. So every quarter, every employee at Traeger gets $100 to give to another employee to say, if somebody jumped through hoops to get stuff to an event for me or whatever, I may say, well, okay, Tim Gage, I appreciate what you did. You get my $100 this quarter. But you're talking about 500 close to employees, and that's something the company does every quarter. You take your $100, you nominate whoever, and so it's kind of cool because we'll wait until we serve lunch to all of our associates every day at Traeger. And so it'll be at the beginning of the month, first couple of days, and Jeremy, our CEO, will walk around with just a stack of envelopes. Okay, here's what you got this week or this quarter. Here's what you got. And so it's kind of interesting. And like, you'll have some people that are just overachievers, and they'll sit down at lunch and have a stack of envelopes like this. You know what I mean? But to me, it's cool. We love recognizing people, and it's something I think just makes the brand a little bit different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Just a great way to build camaraderie.
Absolutely.
It is.
Well, and it also kind of makes you learn, because I think sometimes in big businesses like that, you get siloed into, like, I fall under the marketing department. So I work a lot with the marketing people, but I may not work with accounts payable or, you know what I mean? But it makes you kind of get into these different departments within the company and learn other folks you're working with.
For sure.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about each of your products, what you're most proud of, what you like the best, and then maybe a recipe you like to use it with, what you like to put it on. So can you start, Heath?
You trying to make him name his favorite child?
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of my products that I can't name just one. I got it, and it's hard to name.
Here's the sales guy,
Yeah, and no, it's and my wife can tell you, I have so many other people's brands at home that I cook with, and not only my own. I mean, it's a pantry full of stuff. And I reach for my garlic jalapeno and garlic butter, probably more than anything. And just to be hint, I'm fixing to drop a Cajun Creole garlic butter in the next, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Can I get on the beta testing program for that?
Yeah, you're gonna get on the beta testing program. And but I think the product that I'm most proud of probably is my butter bath. And me and Chad were talking about it on the way over here. It's the only product in the country. A lot of people wrap the ribs of their pork in butter, brown sugar, and honey. Mm-hmm. We all know that it makes a mess, right? Get in there, get in your hand and whatnot. And so I used to take my stuff and mix it all up in my wife's KitchenAid mixer and beat it like cake batter. I would take a tub of butter, I would take a pound of brown sugar, I would take, so much Tiger sauce and everything, and I would blend it all up, and it looked like cake batter. I'd cut the end off a tip of the bag and pipe it in the foil and lay my rib in it. One of my buddies one time at a place said, "Hey, why don't you put that in a powder form and you could sell it?" I said, ding. I went home and started working on it and got it perfected, and especially a product that's got butter, brown sugar, honey, and spices in it. And all you do is reconstitute it, a quarter cup per slab of ribs with 3/4 cup of liquid. And you wrap each slab of ribs or pork butt with 3/4 cup of product. So it makes every product consistent, every rib, right? Because you're using the same amount in every slab. When you're pouring apple juice and you're grabbing brown sugar and you're squeezing butter and you're dumping stuff, you don't know how much you're putting in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of spaces for error in that process.
Well, and the one thing there too, Heath, and I think that's so good about that product is when we go win a contest, what do you want to do the next weekend? You want to be able to replicate that. You know what I mean? And that's the key to competition barbecue is finding something that wins and then being able to do it the next weekend. And people all the time will say, well, you don't mind giving people your recipes, they're going to be competing against you. You still got to out-execute.
Still got to cook it.
But something like butter bath, it just allows one of those areas, and he's exactly right, the variable in your rib wrap and your pork wrap when you're just...
I tell anybody, in competition barbecue, it's about controlling the small things. It's not the big things. You can overcome the big things. It's the little minute things that you think don't matter that really does matter. You have to have the right amount of salt, the right amount of pepper, the right amount of garlic. And so that butter bath, just like Chad said, helped me become consistent. I've been Rib Team of the Year 6 times on the Memphis circuit. 6 times. And it's incredible, first off, to even do that. And I've broke every record that people like Myron Mixon has had and other top pit masters. They said it couldn't be caught. I've run him down. And I'm half his age. And so it just goes to prove that the way things are going, with the way the internet is, with YouTube and videos, if people sit down and watch, you can learn a lot from the internet. And I started out old school and just found my way. But us doing the YouTube channel now and to back up our products, like that butter bath, people are learning about it and know what it is. And it just makes you consistent. It makes it easy. Mm-hmm. You don't have to grab it
just
one
really
product.
Inspires confidence.
Yeah, you don't have to grab it one product to cook a slab, that slab of ribs, basically. You don't have to put any rub on it if you don't need to. You can cook straight wood. And so that butter bath just helps you turn consistent. So that's probably my most favorable product that I have.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So for me, it would be the first. So all the 6 rubs that I have in the brine are all things that I competed with, and it was I'd went to a co-packer and said, well, I think I'd like to do something, and here's my sign an NDA, here's my recipes, and got busy. Just got on with Traeger. World just started going 100 miles an hour, and went to open my second retail store. Hadn't seen my co-packer in 9 months. We had talked back and forth, and I said, look, man, it's just real busy, So he comes to this grand opening of our second store and brings me a bag and says, hey, congratulations. Well, it's all 6 of the rubs I'd been working on that he had just went and said, well, I'm going to give my best shot at them. I'm like, dude, these are close. Like, if I come and spend a couple of days with you, I think we can get these fine-tuned. And so I did, and so we've got a pork rub called the Old Fashioned. We've got a chicken, which is also really good on pork also, called the Bird and the Blazing Bird. But probably the one that, and the number one seller and the one that I like is, most barbecue guys love cooking beef. And so this was my brisket rub, but then I started when I came to Traeger, I started doing a lot with outdoor guys. John Dudley, Joe Rogan, those kind of guys, going out and going on elk hunts and cooking for the camp and that kind of stuff. And I said, well, shoot, I bet with just a tweak or two, I can make this not just a beef rub, but I can make it a red meat rub, where you can use it on venison, elk, moose, the whole 9 yards. And made a couple little tweaks, and to me, that's the one, the rocks, is the one that's my favorite. It was on the brisket that we finished third with today. It's just really, really good rub.
You had to throw that in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, good rub? Oh, third
place.
Oh, yeah. I had to get that in there. But no, it's a really good rub, and I just like it because I like the fact that it just doesn't. It's not just for hardcore barbecuers. I mean, yeah. I think one area where we've really killed it at Traeger, and I think we both have with our personal brands, is the outdoor space. You think about what hunters and fishermen go out and what they spend on hunts and fishing trips and those kind of things. And I remember talking to guys like John Dudley, where he's like, man, you go out and you get this beautiful elk and nice and lean. He's like, and then you go throw it on a propane grill? What? There's something about cooking wild game when it's so lean on the Traeger, because you're cooking with convection instead of direct heat, that just allows it to stay moist and really delicious. And then if you can throw the rocks on top of that, win-win.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem a lot of people have with wild game is just, losing that moisture.
Well, and real quick, in full disclosure, there was some garlic jalapeno on them burn ends that was in that third place box today.
I knew it.
And I will vouch for them being delicious.
Well, thank you.
Oh man, yeah, we just did the taste test before we got to this podcast, and I didn't have a bite I didn't absolutely love.
That's awesome.
I think everybody's brisket was different, just a little bit different. Even though some people's were cooked on the same cooker. Mm-hmm. Me and Chad both used, and Jeff both all used 885 ironwoods, mm-hmm. but all of our briskets turned out different, just by a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just by a little bit. Because I think all of us cooked at different temps and different times. Yep. All of us wrapped at different times. Some of us wrapped really early. Some of us wrapped really late. Chad wrapped really late. He knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's got their own style, their own flavor. You just make barbecue what you want it to be. Add your own little personal flair.
And that's what it's all about. People buy our products, take them home, and that's why we don't consider ourselves competitors. Just like today. Chad saying, I had some garlic jalapeno on there, and we just cooked some steaks last night with garlic jalapeno and rocks on it out there. All of our stuff pairs well with each other's.
Yep.
And so these backyard guys going into a store, what Shields has recognized to me is that we need a bunch of rubs. We need a bunch of sauces. Yeah. Because that guy that comes in the door right here, if he's like me and like Chad, he's got 60 or 70, 80, 110 bottles at home.
I just moved. So my parents gave me the house I grew up in, did a remodel on it. So sold my house, and I was home for 8 days and moved the whole time. And I counted. I packed 3 banana boxes full of nothing but barbecue rubs, all well within date too.
Okay. Mine, I probably got 60, 70 bottles in the last 6 months. I've given away stuff the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Not bigger than banana boxes. The black totes you can buy at Home Depot with a yellow lid?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those.
That's crazy.
I'm between just stuff. People send me stuff like that, and I'll cook with it 2 or 3 times, and then it kind of gets pushed aside because I'm trying something new and doing this. I don't want it to ruin, so I've got certain friends that I give it to
come over and get your
I want somebody else to try it. I don't want it to go bad. I don't want to throw it away.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to use a 20-ounce shaker or rub. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
There's
unless you
just
cook
so
all the
many
time.
options out there you
It
want to
is.
try.
Well, when somebody goes in a store, that was my point, just like Chad's store, just like y'all's store. Even me, I have 15 different dry rubs right now, and I will buy my buddies off the shelf to try his if I ain't had it. And it's not about, I want to taste it. I want to see how well he done with his product. I want to see if it goes good with my product. I want to see what we can turn out together.
Yep.
And that's where I think makes the barbecue family different than a lot of their other businesses. And even with y'all.
It seems like it's really just one big family.
It really
It is. Now, you do got some stepkids in that family. And you got little Joe's cousin down here that knows he probably needs to be somewhere else and not with us. And you got some lost souls, but it's a family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the barbecue family.
Yep, for sure.
Very, very cool. So, you know, to the people out there, what is one piece of advice you have for them that either want to get into cooking or want to step up their game?
You know, I think for somebody wanting to get into cooking, don't wait, do it. There's so many good products out there now and so many good techniques and videos and things to do on the internet that don't wait. You're missing out on some good meals, man. Look at me. You're missing out on good meals. And one piece of advice, you cannot rush good barbecue. And so whether you're cooking hot and fast or low and slow, you're cooking to tenderness no matter what you're cooking.
Yep.
And so to reiterate, I know Chad wants to say something. I'm going to say this. You always cook to tenderness at a contest, and that's what you need to cook to at home. All of our flavors are good. It's not about the flavor at the end of the day. It's about tenderness for contests. And so just passing on these backyard guys. And so that's why they're steady buying a different rub every week. You know what I mean? And so just take your time. That's my one piece of advice. Take your time, learn. Don't be afraid to try something new. The worst that could happen, you could ruin a steak.
Order a pizza.
And order a pizza like Chad had to do. That's the worst thing. But until you try it and do it, I mean, my wife bakes cheesecakes, banana bread, whatever, you know, on the Traeger. We do it all. And we have a bunch of other kind of grills, but what do we fire up 80% of the time at home? It's a pellet grill. I mean, it's just, you know, you've cooked all week and you've
so
done stuff
versatile.
and videos, and it just turn it on, do it on, and just take your time. Pour a glass of wine, take your time, have some fun.
Mine would be, and it piggybacks on what Heath said. You'd have thought we planned this, but we didn't. You know, he talked about cooking to tenderness. I always tell people the number one thing if you want to become a better cook, don't cook to time. When people DM us or see us, hey man, how long does that brisket take? It takes how long it takes. You know,
Done when it's done.
I'll tell you, for trying to plan to feed folks and what time everybody's getting together, 10 to 12 hours, you know, based on what size it is or whatever. But the day that you quit cooking to time and you get yourself an instant read thermometer, I know y'all are partners with ThermoWorks, heck of a good company. I can say, I know both of us since we got started have used ThermoWorks.
If I could tell anybody one thing you need to go buy to use to cook with, it's going to be a ThermoPen.
Instant read thermometer, yep.
It's not going to be nothing else. It ain't going to be a rub. It ain't going to be a sauce. It ain't going to be a skillet. It ain't going to be a cooker. It's going to be a ThermoPen.
Yep, because I don't care if you're cooking over an open pit or a Traeger or whatever you're cooking on, when you've got that instant read thermometer. And don't just use it for the temperature reading. So you're getting in there, like on brisket, you're getting in there, you're seeing, you know, the briskets like we had, the choice briskets we had today, or the prime briskets, you're usually taking those up around 200, between 200 and 204. And what we're looking for, though, when we go to put that instant read thermometer in is, one, the reading, but two, you want that thermometer. I always tell people, if you want to replicate this, take a stick of butter and leave it laying out at room temp for about 4 hours. And you take your instant read thermometer and it should just slide right in that meat, whether it be a butt or a brisket. But in the middle, you just want a tinge of resistance. Because think about it, you know, and one thing people always forget about is when you pull that piece of meat off the cooker, it's not done cooking. You open that foil up and it's still gonna cook another 15, 20, 30 minutes. You gotta let all that steam get off of it.
Because all the residual heat.
Yep, and let that cooking process stop. Then you can foil it back up and throw it in your Yeti and let it rest, for at least an hour. If you're doing a brisket, I like mine to rest, sometimes 2-3.
I'm a 2 to 3 hour man on brisket.
So a question I have, what's too long to rest? Is there too long?
Man, I've rested 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. I know restaurants that rest 10 in an auto sham, and an auto sham is basically a not an oven, but it runs about 140, 160.
But it's mostly steam, so
you put water in the bottom.
It doesn't beat
up. It just
up,
keeps it warm.
Doesn't dry it out.
Okay.
Yeah, just keeps it warm. Because
you got to, obviously one thing, even for people at home, you got to keep that meat at 140 or above to keep it food safe. You don't want to go serving anything that's sat and got below 140 degrees.
So your restaurants, they pull your meat, and then they put them in an auto sham and hold them. And most really good barbecue restaurants are not going to pull that pork off the butt or slice that rib or slice that brisket until you order it. There's some people that are pre-sliced and put au jus and whatnot, and those are usually not your typical very good barbecue places.
And you got to remember, when it comes to barbecue, as soon as you put it on that cutting board and you put a knife to it, the clock started. It's going to start dying. You know what I mean? So always being able to cut and serve and let people get that food at its best moisture, at its best heat level, at its best quality is always something to keep in mind.
Well, I relay to people, do you know what moisture is in a piece of meat?
For the most part.
All right. So you know what steam is when you unwrap it like a brisket? Mm-hmm. That's your moisture escaping. Mm. And so think about when you go to slice it and expose it to air. If you leave that piece of meat laying out there, it's just steady, right, getting cooled off, right? Well, as it cools off, it dries out because that steam
tightens up, mess with your tenderness.
And so you have to know, like Chad reiterated, most briskets go 203, 204. I set mine at 200 today. Well, it's a choice brisket, and we were cooking like at 200 low and slow. And just to back up, I guess to say, the lower temp you cook, the lower finish temp the meat's going to cook. The hotter you cook, the higher the finish temp. And so you always, like he said, no piece of meat's going to be the same. We can get you a roundabout figure, and then you need to check for that feel like butter. So today I cooked 3 briskets on the same grill. 2 of them were about the same size, one a little smaller. The smaller one come off at 208. I had one come off at 206, and I let one go all the way to 215 before it turned loose. And so it goes to tell you that I cooked them all at the same temp.
Same cooker.
Same cooker. But it doesn't matter because you don't never know that animal's life.
And that's what I always say. Every
piece of meat's different, whether it was a right brisket, left brisket. And it's a theory with this, which if you will lift weights with just your right arm, it's going to be way smaller or way bigger than your left arm muscle, right? Mm-hmm. Your dominant arm. So whichever side of that animal, let's just say for a brisket, lays down on and stands up with that leg, that's which side brisket's going to be tougher than the other side.
So how do you know that?
You don't know it. It's one of the different finishing tips on meat. Yeah. Temps on meat. The finish temp's always going to be a little bit different.
And I've always said you may have one steer that worked 3 jobs, and you may have one that lived at a country club.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And so you just don't know. That's why you gotta let the tenderness tell you.
Well, I told a story last night to people. I've cooked hundreds of whole hogs. That's a lot of people knew me for that. I don't cook a lot of them anymore. It's just a lot of work. I don't like working that hard anymore. And I had one hog at one contest one time, and I couldn't get done. The hog cooked almost 30 hours. I made finals, which is the top 3 team. It was a big contest. I limped in there. I usually cook about 250 all night. I had pushed this one up. It was running 300 when I turned in a blind box. And then you make finals, and you do it all over again. 4 judges come to your site on the Memphis Barbecue Network. The ham on this thing never would turn loose. I had to grill all the way up to 325. And this is 5 more hours before finals, right, when you turn in a blind box that morning. 5 hours goes by. So it cooked another 5 hours. We threw that hog in the garbage. It never turned loose. It was still so tough.
Huh.
And so you never know. It's just like an animal. You never know. And so just like cooking steak, I tell people this too. How many restaurants you've been to and you've got a steak, you order it and you cut into it and all your juices run out on the plate. By the time you take your last bite, the steak's kind of dry, even though it's really good at first, right? And it's because they didn't allow that steak to rest and all that juices, it would have flowed out on a plate and then sucked it back up in there. And then when you cut it, the juices would have stayed in it if they'd allowed it to rest the minimum of 7-8 minutes on a steak.
I always use a guideline of about a 10-minute rest.
Yeah, if you got it
on a steak, that's perfect.
Perfect.
And all you got to do is put it on a plate and let it sit on the counter. You ain't got to do nothing special.
Fix your baked potato, fix your salad. get your drink, get everything.
If you want to get
situated.
fancy, throw a dollop of butter on top while it's resting.
But resting meat is the key. Well, we were talking about briskets a while ago, 2 hours, whatever. I like 3 and 4 hours on briskets. And to restaurants, I know restaurants now that hold their meat 10 hours before they serve it. And if you can do it, and if you can take that brisket off and like out of the foil or out of butcher paper and then wrap it in plastic wrap, put it in an auto shimmer hole where all the steam stays in that paper like that and don't escape at all. That's how a lot of these Texas guys do briskets. They put them in auto sham and like that and wrap them up in the butcher paper. You know that, right? And they're always really, really good. And so that's competition barbecue the same way. We're just doing a minor method of what some of these high-end restaurants are doing.
Agreed.
Love it, man. Just so much to absorb in this one.
We could talk 25 hours on
Oh, I can see that. You guys are just so incredibly passionate about it and just, landed in the right spot. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having us. Not just here for the podcast, but, once again, what an amazing event that we, those barbecue folks just got to be a small part of, but to get a glimpse, like I said, into your store, into your people, into your company and culture, and then a peek into the training. I mean, this is a crazy week for the people that are here.
Oh, yeah.
7 a.m. to
Just
10
wild.
p.m. I mean, just knowledge overload, but they're going to go back to each one of their stores and you kind of do a train the trainer thing, and they're going to spread that knowledge on, and then all of them are going to share it with consumers. I know it's a big investment. I know it's a lot of time, but thank you all for bringing the barbecue world into it and letting us be a part of it.
Absolutely.
And I'm the same way with Chad. I'm a Shields fan for life. After going in a store and working with y'all, and you know what, y'all have always been, since day one, I've been with y'all a little over a year, my brand has. You've always treated me with the utmost respect and value, and you pay great on time.
Yes, they do.
It just, when you work with good companies like that and then actually come up here and see it, I just really appreciate you inviting me to be a part of it.
It makes you realize
Thank you for coming.
why you don't have to call or chase a check from Shields and we all got retailers where you do got to do that. But, everything always, if it's net 30, you can guarantee by 28 days,
It's going to be there.
it's going to be there. You know what I mean? And that's, and I know that's a very small thing of doing commerce, but to guys like us that, we run our brands off our dollar, it means a lot.
It does. I just don't want to get the email from my CPA going, hey, so-and-so hadn't paid in 65 days. They're behind. What would you like to do?
That's the parts of the job that just aren't that fun.
And it's usually an invoice that got lost. It's nothing big. I don't really deal with anybody. I don't think in the barbecue world, we don't deal with too many bad people.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We deal with fun people.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. Having fun, having a good time, and, man, living. L-I-V-I-N.
L-I-V-I-N. Don't forget that apostrophe, too.
That's it.
Mike, man, thank you so much, brother. What a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the people that want to learn more about what you do, want to stay connected, where can they find your content?
They can find me at Heath Riles BBQ, which is, just Heath Riles BBQ. And you can find that on any social channel between Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and we're on YouTube. We release a weekly video every week, a cooking video on a different style of cooker. And we just have fun, with our brand. And so if you want to follow along, watch us grow, and eat some really good food with some good flavors, give us a shout, give us a look.
There we go.
And you can catch up with me at Whiskey Bent BBQ on all the socials, including MySpace. That's coming back. You may want to get on that.
Man,
You may want to get on that.
I tried to get my
I'm not
password.
going to hold my breath on that one.
I know my page is still playing Nickelback. I cannot know about you. I know I want to be a rock stars on there.
I'll tell you what, I couldn't believe when Tom Anderson sent me an email telling me to join back up a couple months ago. But no, you can check me out at Whiskey Bent BBQ everywhere on social. And then just make sure and check out Traeger Grills. We got over 1 million followers on Instagram. We do a lot of live cooking content. I think I got a Traeger Kitchen Live coming up on Traeger's Facebook page on the 22nd. We're going to do some reverse sear steaks and a couple good eats. And and just go over to Traeger.com, and there's around 1,400 recipes that you can search by your level of cooking competence. You can search by allergens. What do you want to cook protein-wise? What sides, desserts, whatever. It's a great resource.
Absolutely. And, for those people that lost some of that, we're gonna have all this stuff in the description of this podcast. There's gonna be links to all that. There'll also be links to What's Cooking, a series that we launched on our
Really?
YouTube channel. It's just in its infancy stages. It's starting small, but it's starting to grow. And
If y'all need to fly a couple guys up here to do a little content for it, I think I know 2 that sign up for it.
okay, you might have a couple.
We might have a couple.
We might arrange that.
All right,
We might arrange
perfect. Yeah, we might have to make that happen.
Maybe a little
So,
throwdown.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That would
be fun.
To do a throwdown.
Yeah.
I like this. Just brainstorm session.
I have been saying that for a long time. I wanted to get together 3 or 4 people and do like not nothing
Fun,
real,
just fun.
just a fun throwdown.
Rib each other, have a good
Yeah,
time.
man, just a fun.
I wish bring
throwdown.
Malcolm up with us.
Stock the
Oh,
pantry,
woo.
ingredients. I would love for
Kind of almost do a chopped throwdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
just a barbecue style.
Yep.
Yeah, I can just feel the excitement level just getting up and up the farther you get.
Oh, we're best friends, but I'm gonna tell you the competition level between all of us is laughter, because at the end of the day, hell, we all go celebrate like we just won.
Well, and another thing I'll tell you too, cool competition barbecue tradition. And we do it a lot in Florida. I don't know how much y'all do it out there, but you go to a contest, say, Heath, I'm gonna bet you $1 on ribs. You don't care about that $1. But if Heath beats me in ribs, I gotta take that $1 in a Sharpie. And I gotta say, Heath Riles wore me out today, dated the competition, and hand it to him. And my first trailer, my whole inside of the trailer was nothing but just dollar bills that I'd won at contests, and I'd stamp them up on the wall. And but to me, that's the fun camaraderie of barbecue. Is you go rib somebody if you beat them or this and that, but shoot, at the end of the day, if you need something from me or whatever, and I mean, some of my best buds that I talk to all the time, I've been friends with over a decade. It all started over competition barbecue.
That's
Very
right.
cool. So, Heath, Chad, thank you for your time.
Our pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this segment of the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. Don't forget to follow our social pages, SCHEELS Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. If you have any barbecue needs, want to look for these guys' products, you can find them in our store or online at scheels.com. And with that, I want to thank you all for listening. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. Stay tuned for future segments and visit our social media pages, SCHEELS Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram, for daily updates.